There's a huge demand for our dogs. This year we're looking to train 55 to 60 dogs, which will be the most we've ever trained in 1 year, and we're very excited about that.
It's amazing to think that these dogs will all help change people's lives.
Out switch. Good boy.
Just like Byron did with Kate.
I would say that Byron hasn't actually just changed my life. Byron's actually given me my old life back, which is just fantastic, and I can't imagine being without him.
Wow, Kate and Byron have made the trip to the studio. Lovely to see you. Now, Kate, we do have a rose for you, but we need a delivery man.
I think I might know the man.
Oh, really?
I think I might know the man.
Could it be Byron by any chance?
It could be.
Oh, okay,
it could be. Come here.
Now, what do I say to Byron here?
If you'd like to hold the rose out and just ask him to take it.
Okay.
And then he'll bring it to me.
All right, then.
Ready, Byron? Go
Byron.
Go get it.
Byron.
Good.
Take it.
Thank you.
Oh, what a good lad.
Excellent.
Isn't that tremendous? Beautiful lad.
He's amazing.
Oh, amazing.
We saw early in the programme that he was actually helping you to get money out of the cash point. I mean, how does that work then? Does he know your PIN?
Oh gosh, I couldn't possibly tell him my PIN. He'd be off down to the nearest pet shop, I think, having a good old spend and buying himself a lot of tennis balls.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously it's not just out and about where he helps you. I mean, around the house he's just such a help for you.
Yes, I mean, he's brought huge peace of mind, really, to both me and my family. In that if I actually have a fall or get into trouble at home, Byron's trained. He will go and fetch me a pillow. He'll fetch me a blanket. He can then cover me over with that blanket. Then he'll go and fetch the phone so I can call for help, and he'll just settle down by my side and make sure that everything's okay. And then when help arrives, he'll go and let them in.
That is
incredible.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Did he ever eat the money?
Not so far.
Okay, good.
Not so far. I'm
Expensive
hopeful.
dog.
I'm hoping he would be, wouldn't he?
But you're still training him, aren't you? You train him all the time, constantly.
Absolutely. Canine Partners like you to carry the dog's training on really throughout your partnership. It's very good for the dogs, it's very stimulating, and for them it's not work, it's all about them getting treats and rewards and having fun, and it's just a big game to them. And the other thing for me is that that's great because Ehlers-Danlos syndrome is actually a degenerative condition, and so I now know that as my condition gets worse and I find more and more things difficult, I've got Byron who can help me out, you know, with more and more things that I find difficult.
Indeed.
It's amazing.
He's working out how to use the cameras as well now.
Thanks.
Thanks ever so much, Kate, and of course, thanks to Byron.
Thank you very much.
Well, back to Valentine's Day, and it's amazing how being in love can change somebody.
Indeed, that old romantic Tuffers has discovered that it can even turn a run-of-the-mill portrait painter into one of the greatest artists of his time.
Have you ever looked really closely at your change and wondered who painted the portraits on your banknotes? Well, one portrait on Scottish notes was painted by Allan Ramsay, the Edinburgh artist, nearly 300 years ago. Allan Ramsay was born here in 1713. By the end of his teens, he was training as a painter. But it was love that raised his work from mediocre to magnificent and made him one of Scotland's finest artists. One of his early works is this rather formal portrait of his first wife, Anne Bain. What was he like when he first started painting?
One could say he was quite conventional at the beginning. He'd had conventional training, mostly in London.
What was his style when he painted his first wife, Anne?
If you look at the portrait and you look really close too, you see he's got some wonderful detail. But she is in a false oval frame, and this was a convention of the time. And this sort of gave a bit of formality to it. And then there's a kind of neutral background inside that oval frame, but still within the conventions of the time, and nothing really spectacularly different.
Ramsay continued painting after Anne sadly died in childbirth. He supplemented his income by teaching drawing. One of his pupils was Margaret Lindsay, the daughter of a senior figure in the Scottish nobility. They fell in love, but Margaret's father refused to accept the relationship. Why was the father so against them?
Because he was a mere painter. Although he was a great painter later, and although he was a very popular painter with the Edinburgh nobility, he was simply a painter, something that was just not good enough for his daughter, his noble daughter. And Margaret's father cut off Margaret for the rest of her life.
Allan and Margaret's only option was the romantic one, to elope. So they ran away here to Canongate Kirk in the heart of Edinburgh and were married in 1752. They soon embarked on a 3-year honeymoon in Italy. This period would transform his life and work, turning him into an artist whose works still hold pride of place in the Scottish National Gallery. And it's this portrait of Margaret that's his most outstanding piece. Love had driven Ramsay to break with convention and defy Margaret's disapproving father. And now this free-spirited approach was showing in his work as well. And was it the love for Margaret that inspired him, do you think?
I think absolutely. It's an unusual picture in his career. I mean, he was paid for painting portraits, and they're usually quite formal portraits. What you got in this picture is her taking part in an everyday activity, arranging flowers in a vase. And he just must have been something that he just thought, I love this, and wanted to paint her doing that. And he just has caught her. She's dressed up into the latest sort of Parisian fashions, and he's proud of that.
Ramsay always had technical ability, but thanks to his newfound confidence, born of his love for Margaret, his skill was coupled with style and grace. Out went the formal pose and the oval surround, and in its place, Ramsay discovered the ability to capture a moment. The picture has an overall warmth and depth that's absent in his earlier work.
I think his style relaxed, he got hugely confident, he knew he was on the top of his game. Somebody who's happy, contented, and when you see the portrait of Margaret, you see why. He could actually paint for love. And of course, when he was painting his wife, he had all the time in the world, and he would just pull off a complete masterpiece.
Ramsay's reputation grew, and he was appointed official painter to King George III. So, the man who was rejected by his father-in-law for being unworthy had proved himself, and he owed it all to love.
Thanks, Phil. Yeah. Now, Steve, understand that you're a bit of a dab hand with a 2B.
Yes, I'm not bad, I'm not bad.
Don't talk yourself down. You're very good.
You wanted to go to art college, though?
I wanted to go to art college, but I couldn't afford it at the time, so I went to a printing factory instead.
Okay.
Caricatures are my speciality. I used to draw caricatures of my co-workers. Very adult caricatures of my co-workers.
Right. Okay. Well, staying on the art theme. Staying on the art theme now, it's time to introduce Alex, the lute player.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that beautiful? Well, Alex is here because we're going a little bit Tudor now. Here's Ruth Goodman on how couples in Tudor times tied the knot.
And watch out for some more of your Valentine's messages along the bottom of the screen.
At the heart of modern marriage is the idea of romantic love. No one can doubt that when these two wed, it clearly symbolised their love for each other.
Tudor marriage in Britain was also symbolic, not just of love, but of family power and politics.
Hundreds of years ago, Winchester Cathedral hosted another royal wedding. Love may have been in the air, but like every marriage in Tudor times, so was business and politics.
On July 25th, 1554, huge crowds gathered here to watch a royal wedding.
It's one that tells us a lot about marriage in Tudor Britain at all levels of society. At this altar, while this specially written music played, Queen Mary I, Henry VIII's eldest daughter, married Prince Philip of Spain. They had never met before. They spoke different languages, and he, apparently, found her plain. For historian Dr. Alice Hunt, the marriage is a perfect example of Tudor power politics.
Philip was the heir to Spain. Spain was a huge power, and if England could be on good terms with Spain, then they had a good position in Europe.
This business approach to marriage was common through all levels of society.
Marriage arrangements would be put in place sometimes before a baby was even born. Daughters were the property of their fathers, and as such, they were sort of pawns, really, on chessboards. They'd be moved around. And even at the lowest strata of society, it was really important for a woman to get married. She had no rights if she wasn't married. And if she didn't make a good match, she could possibly have no rights if she was widowed. So agreements had to be hammered out beforehand. And it was as important for a farmer's daughter to marry well and move into another family, be looked after, as it was for a king's daughter.
Tudor weddings, even those not in cathedrals, were showy affairs, a chance to dress up and show off. Particularly if the bride came with a nice big dowry.
There was no such thing really as a wedding dress in Tudor England. People just wore their best, but boy, they meant their best. Look at all the jewels all over it. It was important to make a show. After all, a marriage was a contract between the families, and you'd put a great deal of effort into it, and you'll show off your young woman. She is, after all, what you've paid that huge dowry for. Give us a twirl, girl.
After the ceremony, the marriage deal was sealed with a feast.
The Tudors really like to make a big splash at their wedding feasts, and particularly at the top end of society. The food was spectacular. You get all sorts of weird and wonderful things on the table, like porpoise and swans and peacocks, and there would be sugar sculptures all along the table. And then, remember, pound for pound at this time, it cost far more than gold. So by having a grand sugar display, you were really showing off your wealth. I've got a recipe for making a marchpane, and these were really typical. They were made of almonds and sugar, a little bit of rose water. I'm going to have a go.
The marchpane, a marzipan delicacy, would be the centrepiece of the table. It would be decorated with gold leaf. Other gifts would be exchanged.
Imagine at the end of the wedding day, nibbling on your sugar and your gold leaf. Conspicuous consumption at the most edible end of the spectrum. Think of it that day, full of pomp and ceremony and dignity. That should impress the new relatives, I think.
So there you go. If you've forgotten a Valentine's present, bag of sugar. Perfect.
Perfect. Anyway, time for some one-show viewers to serenade their partners by reading out their own poetry now.
Yes. Steve, you're going to be our love judge.
Love judge.
Okay, so after each poem, you've got your little paddle there.
Yes,
if you like it, it's lush.
Oh, lush.
Oh,
yes.
you went.
And then they'll get a beautiful rose.
Yeah, they will. There it is. There's
Oh, there
the
it
proof.
is.
Okay. Or, if you spin it round, everyone's seen it anyway, it's mush.
And they'll get a tin of mushy peas. One-show mushy peas.
Peas and love.
I like peas.
Anyway.
Well,
Right, shall we introduce Alex, our lute player again? There he is, there's Alex. Okay, and can we please have our first poet partnership? It's Ryan and Sarah.
When I say I love you, I promise this is true. On the 5th of May, we'll stand together and we both will say I do. Thank you very much for making me the happiest man alive. I cannot wait for the day to come when you will be my wife.
Beautiful.
That is lovely.
Here we go.
So, Mr. Jones, lush or mush?
Lush.
Yes!
Lush.
Loved it.
He loves it.
Okay, our next couple, please. Sue to Patrick. Here we go.
My husband's an amazing guy. He sees me laugh, he sees me cry. A gentleman with a caring heart. Incredibly wise, incredibly smart. He comforts me and brings me joy. He's wonderful. He's my toy boy.
Toy boy.
She could have gone anywhere with a rhyming couplet of smart. Here we go.
Mega lush.
Mega lush.
Okay.
Okay. Shall we move on to Mark? To Esther.
Whether it's Valentine's Day or Midsummer's Day, you're always like Christmas Day to me. Every day I wake with you, it's like Valentine's Day, Christmas Day, and my birthday all in one. You are the pump in my heart.
Oh, romantic. Right.
Well, this is tension, this one. Hang on, this could go either way. Lush or mush?
Really lush.
God, I tell you what, we're doing well with the roses.
Yeah, I mean, have we got plenty of roses to go around? That's the question.
We're in trouble, yeah.
Okay, and the next Valentine is Justine to David.
I called it off on New Year's Day, all confused but very still in love. You never pushed or questioned why, just stood by me and allowed me time to think and ponder, to know this is so right. Will you marry me and always be by my side?
I will, Justine.
Oh, isn't that wonderful? We've got a proposal. Live on BBC One. Huge congratulations.
Congratulations.
Isn't that lovely? Oh, well, oh yes, champagne.
Congratulations.
A massive thank you. And it's all on our very special Valentine.
Super lush!
Yeah.
Super lush!
Yeah, thanks to Steve for coming in. And remember, Let's Dance will start on Saturday. Thank you.
Indeed, tomorrow at 7, Poirot actor David Suchet will be bringing his little grey cells along to the studio.
Yeah.
In case you're wondering, that was Belgian.
Have a lovely Valentine's night. See you all tomorrow.
Oh!
Bye.
Congratulations, Justine and David. Isn't that wonderful?